This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
South Central State's Satellite Studio. I'm your host for today, Nathan Russell, live here in Fort Worth, Texas. The weather's really, really nice and cool outside, which, by the way, springtime in Texas means bluebonnets. If you were tuning in to the Texas studio, they were mentioning it earlier, and yes, it is bluebonnet season here in Texas. Check them out because they only last about 2 weeks and then they're gone and that's it. But the rest of the wildflowers, they usually continue on into summer. But enough of me and enough about Fort Worth, because we have our guest here with us from El Paso, which is all the way at the far west corner of Texas. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, good afternoon po, brethren. My name is Katlea, coming from El Paso, Texas.
Awesome. How's the weather there, by the way?
The weather in El Paso is very windy and it is still cold po.
All right. So I'm glad to have you back on again this week. Of course, last week. By the way, they did update the thumbnail for last week, so it now says the alphabet art challenge instead of Travelogue Jerusalem, which we still plan on having. I talked to the sister about Jerusalem actually last night. That we plan on having. So just stay tuned in the future when we have that show. But we have Sister Kat Leah back here today to talk about a hobby that maybe many of us ourselves had or have had in the past. And of course, she is in middle school currently. Is that right? Middle school, right? Eighth grade.
Yes po.
Yes, and we're going to talk about how we got into music, specifically playing music. Whether you play an instrument or you play a voice. So I'll drop the question of the day in the chat, and that is, what musical instrument do you play? So I want to hear from everybody who's listening right now. If you've played an instrument in the past, I want to hear about those experiences. Let me just copy paste that here. Give me a sec. Let's see. Hold on. I accidentally deleted it. So, question of the day: what musical instrument did you play? Oh, I kind of butchered the English there, but you get it. All right. So, drop your answers there in the chat, but we're going to go ahead and jump into our discussion. So, Sister Cat Leah, what are some of the musical instruments that you have played?
The musical instruments I used to play was the viola and the ukulele. But in elementary, around first grade, I was required to play the recorder.
Second and first grade, the recorder. How would you describe the recorder, by the way? What is that like?
I would kind of say it is like a flute, but I'm not really sure. It's more
Yeah,
like a flute where maybe played like a clarinet, but I'm not really sure.
right. Yeah, I was trying to think about that earlier too, going into this show, because that was my experience in elementary school. They gave every elementary school kid a recorder, so you can just imagine a room full of children all having this wind instrument, and it could be pretty chaotic in those classrooms. But yeah, it's a very basic wind instrument. Which, by the way, if you played the recorder when you were in school, if you learned to play the recorder, drop that into the chat. I'd love to hear about your experiences with that. But you said you played the viola. For those who aren't familiar, what is a viola?
A viola is actually like an instrument that looks a lot like a violin, but not to confuse the viola for the violin. The viola has a deeper sound and is just slightly bigger than the viola. I mean the violin.
Okay, for some reason I thought the viola would have been smaller than the violin. Is there a similar instrument smaller than the violin that's similar? Just off the top of your head?
I thought there are sizes of violins if I remember, but I'm not sure about an instrument being smaller than a violin.
Okay. Do you know if they're tuned the same way, violin or viola, or are they tuned different?
I think they are tuned the same. I think they are tuned the same.
Oh, okay. And then of course, you got the larger string instruments. I'm only familiar with guitar, so that's where I'm coming from when I think about the the viola. I know there's no frets on a viola. Um, and you play what is that stick called?
The bow where you
Yeah, the
play.
bow.
Yeah, the bow.
Okay, so the bow. Is that tuned also? Do you have to tune that?
So the way the bow works, you have to make it tighter.
Hmm.
On the edge, it's kind of hard to explain without a bow, but on the edge where you place your fingers, you will see like a little what is it?
Is it
Something,
like a thumb
something
screw?
to make it tighter or loosen.
Okay.
So if you are playing, you want to make it tight but not too tight. And if you are not playing, you don't want to keep it tight. And if you want to play better, you have to put rosin on it so that the instrument will sound better when you play.
Okay. Because I asked to borrow one from someone who played, I think it was a violin, and it just sounded like a scratchiness. What was I doing wrong?
So if you were you playing it slow?
I think so. It sounded very horrible.
Yeah, it's you have to play it fast or else it will make a screeching noise.
All
Or
right.
if you play it on the bridge, you know what the bridge is?
No. Where is that?
So you'll see on the it's you know the what a violin looks like?
Well, I'm thinking about, okay, so you have the body of the instrument. So, oh, the bridge, that would be where the strings are attached, right?
So after the black part, you know where you like you play on the black part, right? So
Right,
if
right.
you're out of the black part and you're near the bridge, it will sound like high pitched and squeaky if you play on there too.
You know what? That is very similar to the guitar because I do remember where the bridge is at. So it's where the strings are attached. And I know on the guitar, if you play too close to the bridge, it sounds very metallic, and you don't get a lot of vibration out of the strings, so you don't get a good tone. Of course, sometimes in a song you might want to use that sound. You could change the sound of the guitar, but yeah, typically you want to play a little bit further away. So maybe I was messing up that part. But did you ever play like the viola for like any recitals or shows?
I have played the viola, uh, like beginners. We were in beginners choir, so it was our first concert, and it took place around like maybe 2021 of December.
Okay, it's still during the pandemic.
Yes,
And
pandemic.
fortunately, if you're playing a string instrument, you don't have to breathe, right? Well, I mean, you should still
Ah,
breathe, but
you don't have to breathe a lot.
so was it difficult to learn the viola?
I think it was not that difficult, but I think if you're used to clefs like the bass clef or the what is it, the treble clef, I think it
Hmm.
will be a bit difficult because the alto clef is like the least known, if I'm correct, the least known.
Okay, so there's a different clef. I'm not familiar with this. There's an
Yeah.
alto clef.
There's three different. There's treble clef, there's alto clef, and the bass clef. And viola players, they play on the alto clef.
Oh man, I am learning all sorts of new things today. I did not know there was an alto clef. But hold that thought real quick because we're gonna jump into the comments because I need to because there's a lot right now. So we don't get too far behind. So we got brother Matt, of course, from your local in El Paso, greeting everybody. Hello, po brethren. And then we also have brother Ron from Jacksonville saying hello po to everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. Let's see, username Dog Maltov. He gives us the violin emojis or the viola emojis. It's hard to tell. I can't tell by the size if it's bigger or smaller than the violin from an emoji. But thank you for joining us here today. The Dolce family. Did I say that your last name right? Is it Dolce?
Dulce.
Dulce?
Yeah.
Okay, Dulce family. Happy viewing from the local of El Paso. Thank you for joining us here today. Let's see. More emojis, the celebration emojis from user Dog Maltov. Brother Matt, big musical instrument nerd. That's what he's saying. He was a big musical instrument nerd. He played piano, violin, guitar, ukulele, and organ. Awesome. Let's see. We also have Diane Silva, greeting us happy viewing. And then let's see more emojis from username Dog Molotov. And Sister Diane is greeting Kamat. Dog Maltov says practice makes perfect. Absolutely. So let's pause right there with the practice. So my experience with musical instruments was with the guitar. You can see him in the background. And when I started out, I don't think I even knew how to. I didn't know how to tune it. Like my dad just bought it for me. He's like, "Here you go. Go learn it." So I would just like strum it and make noises, and then just try to make musical sounds with it because I like you and maybe a lot of the viewers we learned on the recorder, so we had a basis in that. But yeah, it was just like picking it up. I learned very informally how to play the guitar. Did you take lessons or did you learn in school?
We learned it in school. Funny thing is, like, I wasn't really planning to join the orchestra until my music teacher, who became my orchestra teacher, actually offered like, who wants to join. So I was interested because I was like, well, I guess I can try something new. And then I heard about viola. I was like, what is a viola? And I just joined with the viola because it was an instrument I have never heard of before.
Okay. Did you have to learn it on your own outside of orchestra, or did they teach you in the class?
They taught us in the class. They also gave us tuners to help us tune. But you can also tune with hearing, but that's very difficult to do.
Hmm. So so you do reshoot music, of course, with the alto clef. Um, I know for guitar, there's tabs. Are you familiar with that? You ever heard of what's called guitar tabs, where it shows like the number on the string, and that's basically where you place your hand? Do they have that, like kind of the shorthand? Oh, you're muted there, sec. Oh, someone's asking her a question. That's why. But yeah, so if you're not familiar with with guitar, you can learn it with what's called guitar tabs. You can look them up online. They have the strings. Is there any kind of shorthand like that for viola? I'm just curious.
Shorthand?
Yeah, it's
Uh, I
like
don't think.
tabs where shows like the
Oh,
strings and the numbers where you could put your fingers.
oh yeah. For beginners, they put tapes on your instrument so you know where to place your fingers. But
Hmm.
if you already know or memorize or know how to play it, the most rewarding thing about that is when they finally take off your tapes and you just memorize. Like, you
Hmm.
just know where to place your fingers.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and transition though into the other instrument that you mentioned, which is the ukulele. When did you pick up the ukulele?
So it was around maybe 2022 where I moved to the Philippines, and it was required for my music class.
Oh, okay. So it was another class that you were taking that did ukulele. I'm curious. So transitioning from the viola to the ukulele, because there are those slight differences. Is it harder or easier?
I think depending on how they taught it, it was harder.
Really? The
Yeah, it was
ukulele's harder. I wouldn't have thought. I uh what about the way the notes, the way the ukulele is tuned? Is it the same as the viola? Or is it pretty different?
I think it's like, it's a little bit similar. Like, there's like the little pegs on the body of it.
Right.
And when I actually, the strings broke like 4 times that year. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think ukulele is for me because it kept breaking, and we had to buy new strings. And I think that also got lost, but it was fine. No more breaking after that.
I think that happened to me. I think I dropped ukulele because because of the strings kept breaking on me. It's also not tuned the same as the guitar. So any of the chords that I learn, any notes that I learn on guitar, it doesn't translate over to the ukulele very well. You have to kind of relearn the chords. Um, but so we covered the recorder, we covered the ukulele, we covered the viola. Is there any other instruments or any other musical talents that you have?
Not really, but just choir
Oh, she's just like, oh, nothing really, just choir. Choir, come on, that's a
currently.
big deal. All right, so you also sing. Do you sing for your school?
I did sing at least 3 times this year.
Oh, okay. What voice do you sing?
I feel like I have deep, like I sing deeper.
So
Maybe alto.
you're more of
I'm
an
not really
alto.
sure. We're supposed to sing higher, but my voice is just like going down.
Hey, altos are really valuable. I myself I sang in the church choir. I was a bass for the longest time, and yeah, every now and then we also had to sing high notes, and I couldn't sustain high notes at all. So yeah, it's just something you kind of gotta. I don't know. I feel like you're either born with a certain physiology that allows you to sing high notes or not. You could, of course, stretch that out. Okay, you can't just say, "Well, I can't. I just can't do it." You can expand your range a little bit, if you practice. But as a bass, we focus on the lower notes. But do you have any advice that you'd like to give, maybe for those who are thinking about getting into music?
Yeah, I do have advice. I actually prepared like many script for this because it's long.
Okay, fire
It's
away.
long. So I think my advice for those getting into music or is thinking about it should know what their preferences are first, because there's choir, there's band, and there's an orchestra. So you want to know which one you want to get into first, right? And I think that if you're willing to go for it, you should be prepared to practice a lot. Because I think band and orchestra classes, you have to practice a lot to be better.
Real quick on that. How long did you practice the viola? I'm just curious. What kind of time would it take to be proficient in like a song you might be having to perform?
I think not that much, depending on like the difficulty. Because if it's like more difficult, like, oh, you got 8 notes, oh, you got this, you got half notes. I think it just depends on what type of song it is, or the difficulty, how they wrote it.
Okay. All right. Get back to your mic drop.
Also, I think it is easier to find better techniques rather than taking choir. You only depend on your voice if you are taking choir. If you are interested in choir, I think enough practice and patience and practice will do. But there are many rules to follow, such as posture, your movement of air, and your expression. They're all very important elements when you are singing. And I would also say that you should be confident, because even if you make mistakes, the audience will not actually notice when you make a mistake. So you just have to make that mistake, but you can't like let it show.
You bring up a very good point with that. Like I remember playing in a talent show, and one of my guitar strings broke, and it's just hanging there. Now, fortunately, with a guitar, a lot of the notes repeat on the fretboard, so you can, place your hand somewhere different. But I had to finish up the song before I could, trade out guitars. But you're absolutely right about making mistakes. A lot of the times, like you said, the audience doesn't even notice. Has that been your experience when you made a mistake?
Not necessarily, but I just see it online. They completely played something different on piano. It was upside down, by the way. The music sheet was upside down,
Hmm.
and then they noticed, and then the audience were like, "Oh, he actually made a mistake," but it also sounded good when they made the mistake.
I think that's how jazz was invented. That's a joke, by the way. But yeah, I mean, yeah, when it comes up to mistakes, you have like one or two choices. You can either freeze in place and be like, "Oh, I messed up," or you can just keep on going, and just like you said, like people would just think it was a part of the song. You have any more advice that you have there?
No, but I think confidence is also important in choir when you are singing certain notes.
Why is that? Why is confidence important?
I think it's like depending on how you sing the notes. Like let's say like, oh, I made a mistake. Now you sing lower, but if
Hmm.
you sing higher, then you know like what you were singing. Like I just learned this like a few days ago, I think. So so the teacher said you have to be confident if you're singing certain notes, because the way you sing it will matter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like especially when you have to reach higher notes. It is intimidating. It can be intimidating because if you mess it up while you're singing high, everyone might hear you is basically sing the wrong note, and you're going to stand out. There's no way around that. I know, like personally, you had to develop that confidence that I am going to hit that note. I know how to sing. I'm going to hit it. And more often than not, you will hit it, but you do have to, make sure you reach up and go for it. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on those high notes. And usually those are the best parts of the songs because you're not always singing the higher notes. Which, by the way, do you happen to sing for the choir at church?
I used to back in 2018, maybe like for 2 years, maybe for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in CWS. I'm also thinking maybe they're asking me if I am interested in grown-ups in the grown-ups choir.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about maybe joining again. I'm just
yeah.
waiting for updates.
And you said you're more of an alto voice.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so especially with like alto, because you're not singing the melody, you do need that confidence, because you got to sing your notes independently of the sopranos. So you do have to kind of stand your ground and not follow somebody else. You have to sing apart from them, and then you got to kind of like learn how to harmonize. But you know, that's the advice I would give for that. But yeah, really consider singing in the choir. It's a great experience. I did it from like age 9 to age 36. So yeah, it was a really good time. Really rewarding to be able to sing. But we're gonna go ahead and drop back into the comments one last time. Let's catch up with it. Oh no, I lost my place in the comments. All right, let me find it real quick. All right, let's see. Brother Matt says, please still breathe while you play your stringed instruments. Yes, don't hold your breath when we play, if you're playing a viola. Let's see. Dog Maltov is asking, are you still talking about violins? I don't know. Maybe we had moved on to the ukulele at that point, the ukulele. Let's see. Brother Marvin Dulce is also greeting us. I believe that's your dad. Are they all there, by the way, in El Paso? Are they behind the camera?
You wanna say hi?
Yeah, go turn the camera. Let's go see El Paso. There we go. Oh, there's Brother Matt. Hello.
Brother Marvin.
Behind the scenes.
All right. Let's see. Brother, let's see. User Dog Molotov says my dog has fleas. Let's see. Brother Matt says, oh, do you have a sample that you can give? And she looks over at everybody. You want to sing a song live on air?
I'm good. I only know. I'm good. I'm just gonna sing Do Re Mi.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear your do re mi, and I'll go out. Well, I'll go first. Let me see if I can hit the right do. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. Do you use T or C, by the way?
There's actually like two. I actually learned this when I went in choir, but there's actually like lower. There's lower versions of that.
Right. All right, you go now. I did. I went. You go. Let's hear your do re mi.
Do re mi fa sol la ti do.
Oh, there you go. You know what? You're good to go. You even did the hand signals. I forgot all those. Awesome. All right, let's close out these comments. Let's see. Brother Victor Novello from Blue Ridge is greeting everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. He says that music relieves his stress and he plays the guitar. All right. Do you have any final shout outs you'd like to give?
Yes, po. Shout out po to my relatives in the Philippines, the Bartolo family in the local of Hermosa, Bataan, the Dulce family in the local of Dinalupian, Bataan, my parents, Marvin and Kathleen, my brother Alan, and our resident worker, brother Matthew. I would also like to shout out the Olais family, the Gray family, here in the local of El Paso, Texas, and all the brethren in El Paso.
Awesome. All right. I would also like to thank our district CFO overseer, Brother Christian Agron, our assistant district minister, Brother Gilbert Anachete, our district minister, Brother Andre B. Silva, our executive producer, Brother Emmanuel Ndaya, station manager, Brother Arnel Solano, our CFO coordinator and SEBC president, Brother Angelo Arano V. Manalo, and of course, our executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Be sure to tune in to INC Radio South Central States at the same time next Saturday at 2 p.m. We're in Central Daylight Time. And stay tuned for INC Radio Latin America coming up next. Thank you for dropping in today.